This week's videos are sponsored by Prize Picks, the easy-to-use fantasy sports betting app. More on them in just a bit.
Citizens of the Reject Nation, your eyes do not deceive you. I am Coy. Greg is on an adventure. So today I am joined by the one and only Andrew, fellow Geek Checked on the other side of the table. We're going to talk today about that Fantastic Four footage that recently debuted. We're going to talk about those new Superman posters and I believe the ramifications therein. We're going to talk about some box office stuff. I know Andrew's really excited to break some box office down. And people always ask, why do you bother with the box office? Well, show business, the business half keeps the show going. So if movies don't make money, we don't make any more of them. So we're going to talk about box office a little bit. I love, one of my favorite things about this season is summer movie previews. I used to buy actual magazines and dive into those. I love a summer movie preview. So we're also going to do a bit of that as well. And we got some good news for John with some Blumhouse talk with a little franchise called SAW. So we got a lot of news to discover. And you get to discover it in real time. We're going to a live audio reaction from John about some SAW Blum coming later in this episode. As always, if you guys want to jump around, if you're like, man, I'm excited about those Superman posters, but I have no interest in John's excitement, one, shame on you. But two, we got chapters down below so you guys can hop around the episode. I'm excited to steer this vessel today because I love movie news, but I love it coming from a place of like emotional context. And I feel like you and I are going to have fun with the summer breakdown stuff as we go along. But first, we got to talk Fantastic Four.
Let's do it.
Which is, I would argue, one of the biggest summer events for Marvel in some time. It feels very impactful. It feels big. Like we're starting to get to that point in the summer movie season where the movies feel palpable and like they are not tangible, but like there's an energy in the air. Like there's a pulse now for Fantastic Four. Before I describe this footage, one, how are you? Two, what are you feeling Fantastic Four wise?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm excited. I mean, I've said for many years now, my favorite Fantastic Four film is still The Incredibles. I adore that film. So I know it's been years in the making now having the Fantastic Four in the MCU. So there's a lot of pressure on this film, but I think we've talked about this many times. I try to steer away from as many trailers or footage as I can. I've seen the first trailer. I loved what I saw there, but I love the four actors that we have playing Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Woman, we've got the Human Torch, and we've got the Thing. I think so far, again, in the trailer, I love the chemistry between them. The interactions seem so sincere. You feel that history dynamic. I think that's the biggest thing I'm looking for right now, besides a great story and like that threat level from Galactus, and obviously seeing the Silver Surfer, is I want to feel that family dynamic. That's the biggest thing I'm going to be looking for in the film. And again, so far, I'm an optimist. I always have been. I've never really been a pessimist when it comes to films, even if something doesn't really like look great. Yeah. Like I will judge it on film when I see it. You know,
it's not out till it's out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I learned the lesson from my. Sorry, I'm going to call my dad out here a little bit. This has nothing to do with Fantastic Four. It's just about being a pessimist. I remember when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker in The Dark Knight, and I told him, and I was like, "Dad, Heath Ledger's cast as the Joker in The Dark Knight," which I was cool with this pick, by the way, because I had seen a couple films of his and I loved them. And he was like, "Mel Gibson's son in The Patriot?" He's like, "Yeah, right." Well, we'd watch that movie. We'd love The Patriot, but that was what he said, and he's like, "I liked him in that movie. He's not the Joker. Jack Nicholson is, right?" And I was like, "Hey, I love Christopher Nolan. I trust him. I'll judge it after I see the movie, but I think it's a good pick." Halfway into the movie, I turned to him. I go, "What do you think of Heath Ledger so far?" He goes, "I was completely wrong. He's amazing. He's the best Joker ever, and this is the best Batman movie ever." I was like, I think that the whole point is don't judge a book by its cover. Wait till you see the film, whether you're extremely excited or whether you are a pessimist. Just wait till you see the film. But so far, it looks good to me. I'm excited. I think the possibilities are endless, and hopefully this will be better than The Incredibles. If not, I still got The Incredibles, but I'm excited. I really am. I'm looking forward to it.
It's funny to me we get a new one of these every 10 years. 95, 2005, 2015, 2025.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Oh, right. The 95, was that the Roger Corman?
Yeah. We've literally got...
No one's ever seen that, right?
I mean, like, not us, but one a decade is fascinating. Just the synchronicity of that. So we are due for our Fantastic Four film. We did get footage at the, I believe, John, was it CXP? Is that the acronym for this con?
CCXP.
Two C's. I apologize. I forgot a second C. CCXP footage was described as being from more the middle of the movie than the climax, and that it is the Fantastic Four fleeing a planet that is being consumed by Galactus. Once again, Galactus is being described as a scene stealer by folks that's actually terrifying. A lot of reports out of the first screenings of the film is how great Galactus was. We get the big pop of the footage, though, is Sue Storm going into labor, which is certainly a Marvel first. I hope there is so much pearl clutching from folks that want to see clavicles in Eternals. How dare there be recreational or procreational activity? But I'm very curious how they handle the first family actually becoming a family. We see the labor happening. There's a hint of Franklin Richards and reality bending powers, which I am shocked they showed this early in the game. That feels a little premature, but you're trying to sell tickets. We're going to see how it plays out and how big of a part of the film that is. The team is being chased by the Silver Surfer, which is probably trying to get Franklin, we imagine, with those level of powers, or it is maybe the Silver Surfer trying to escape Galactus, or maybe pursuing for Galactus. Could be a bunch of things considering the character. We also see a little of Reed using his power, helping Sue. Have not seen a lot of stretchy Reed. We saw that one elongated moment in the last trailer. Thing is piloting the ship and is ordered to fly them into a black hole to escape. And Johnny is trying to fight off Silver Surfer. It is described as cosmic, retrofuturist, big spectacle, and potentially tying into another Marvel film. Now, I think that the other Marvel film makes sense with this footage. I'm not going to say too much because not everyone has seen other Marvel film. But also, I think that it's a good amount of things to get hype, but so far it does feel like it's not necessarily spoiling. Like, I feel like out of context, we knew she was pregnant, so Franklin I would save, but I get it. We knew Galactus was in it. Like, this feels like a little bit more shading in than I'd like, but it doesn't feel like I'm like, well, now I know the movie.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that footage description?
I mean, it sounds good. I think the biggest thing, because there were parts in Rise of Silver Surfer I really enjoyed, but I think the big weakness in that film was Galactus. So what we are hearing described here, that's something I want to see on the forefront. I really want to see Galactus feel like that menacing threat that he is in the comic books.
True.
I want to feel like, because we've got 4 OP-styled characters here. I want to feel like there's no shot. Like, I always go back to, I know you always use the example when talking about the cat in Lethal Weapon, for instance. I always go back to Die Hard. In the first film, like, it feels like it's an impossible stakes for the character. By the time we get to the end of that film, like, he's done the impossible. He's Ethan Hunt at the end of that film, basically. I want to feel that in this film. I want to feel the stakes. I want to feel like when they are fighting Galactus, they have no shot.
Yeah.
Even on rewatch of the film, I want to feel like, how did they do this? They used Mr. Fantastic's brain. They came up with strategy. This is great. This is intuitive, and it's making me think outside the box, and they're improvising on the spot in order to beat this impossible threat. But in terms of like what's being described, it sounds great. I don't want to know anything else. I
was going to ask you, Noel Beltran asks, and this ties directly into this, for the podcast, in your opinion, how much early released content is too much? Teasers, trailers, exclusive clips, etc.
That's a great question. See,
none is too much.
Yeah. I mean,
none, any, a frame. I want nothing.
Yeah, it's our job. So obviously, there's times I have to do it, which it's part of the deal of what I signed up for. So I cannot complain. But I never want to really truly watch anything. There's certain films
I only watch trailers we react to.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. The only time I've ever broken that, which we're going to talk about later, is Happy Gilmore 2.
Fair.
I grew up with that film, so I'm like, sue me. But other than that, other than our trailer reactions, I don't watch trailers anymore. The problem is they give away too much, and I get it. It's called show business, as you pointed out earlier, and we have to sell. We have to sell the product. Yeah, we have to sell the product. So in regards to that, the issue is when I see certain things, I think the best example I'll use is Star Wars Episode 9. Spoilers again, if you have not seen it. There was a point in the film where they faked us out with Chewbacca being dead, but I had seen the trailer already where
there was more of him.
I knew there was more of him. I figured he wasn't dead anyways, but again, because I had seen the trailer, I'm like...
They showed Hulk catching Iron Man in Avengers.
I remember that, yes. I remember. And also, too...
That's the climax.
And Cast Away. They showed him getting off the island. Like,
that's
why would you show that? Yeah. Like, it's still a great movie, but I got to imagine Robert Zemeckis when he watched that trailer, and he had no... It's like, what? What do you do?
I don't watch any TV spots. Yeah. Not a one. I used to for covering stuff, but now we have enough. We have enough content coming out. I can avoid that because there's other news.
Yeah.
I love looking at posters. We're going to talk about posters in a little bit with Superman. I think posters are safe for the most part, and that gives me a sense of tone and joy. I watch usually the first trailer because we're covering it, or if I want to know a director's tone, and usually the first trailer is safe, but I will leave the theater now and like wait and come back.
It's so
like I'll be like 2 minutes. Nope, I'll come back.
It's so funny you say that now because again, I only go to the theater so minimally now, but when I go, I usually go with my older brother and my father, and they want to see the previews.
Yeah.
So I'll go, okay, you guys.
I'll see you in a minute.
Yeah, you guys go in. We got reserved seats. Yeah, we got reserved seats. You guys go in. I'm gonna go use the bathroom for about 10 minutes. Just text
17 minutes. I'll be back.
Text me when everything is when the movie starts rolling. I'll be right in. But
when heartbreak feels good in a place like this, I will settle in once Nikki's on screen.
Yeah, but it's interesting because when I went to the theater, like growing up, I honestly like I prefer not to be spoiled, of course, but I didn't mind trailers that much. Granted,
we're more
like
inundated now.
Yeah,
it's changed.
Yeah, for sure. Granted, like besides Castaway, that's just one example. But like for the most part, I felt like most films didn't give away like a crazy amount.
Yeah,
but that was something like part of the event in the film was like, I want to see these trailers. This looks incredible.
I think it's a combination, right? I think one, we're more media savvy. Two, they feel like they have to show more because they have to get more butts in seats because costs are much higher, all those things. Three, I do feel like the art of trailer construction, creation, whatever you'd want to say, the editing of a trailer is an art, but I feel like those artists haven't gotten the leash they used to get. There's people suing over, misrepresentation. There's people like, and there's also the audience problem. Like I do think after enough user error, you've got to blame the user. And I think if you have to put a tiny little sneaker for your trailer before the trailer because attention spans are so low, there's no hope for humanity. Yeah. So like, I don't want to see a trailer that has to appeal to the dumbest in order to sell me. I'd rather just not see it because I know I already want to see it.
For sure. No, that's so true. And it's interesting how my perspective on it has changed because I remember when we weren't able to like pull these up on our computers so fast.
I remember downloading the episode 1 trailer and it took 4 days.
Oh, Star Wars?
Yeah. It was this big and it took 4 days.
Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. It took me forever to download and was in such crappy quality.
Because you wouldn't see, you just see the size of the file, so you'd get it and be like,
it was so bad the quality, but I didn't care. I was so happy. I was
the first time.
Oh yeah,
even this big.
Yeah, dude, do you know how excited I was? It's not a great movie, but I don't care. I was so pumped and excited to see the Batman and Robin trailer in theaters. I was so pumped.
Dude, the Godzilla trailer? 1998's Godzilla?
Where he dropped on the T-Rex. Oh, I mean, those are experiences, just the trailers.
Godzilla, T-Rex? No, I'm talking about Hank Azaria, Godzilla.
Yeah, where
with Baby Oil.
Oh, yeah.
The Baby Oil song guy.
Oh, yeah, but I was talking about, I think there was a teaser where he...
Sorry. I just got that.
But that's the song. I will not give him his credit because he's a horrible man. But that was the music of that trailer was so awesome.
Yeah.
Like, and that trailer was so like, it was the trailer of the summer. Like I was 10 and I just remember being like, what? Like that was so cool.
Yeah. And it was unexpected. I didn't even know that was coming out because
we were very young.
Yeah, for sure. But again, like because the social media we don't have today, there were so many times like, I had no idea that movie was coming out and I'd be surprised seeing it on screen like that. It's like truly it was a separate event from the movie.
I think we're on the same page. Too much is too much, but I like a first trailer. I get needing a second trailer. There's a line. All right. And then also in the same conversation of marketing, we have a great question from Captain Fernandez saying, James Gunn isn't ashamed of how colorful and outrageous some comics and characters can be. Are moviegoers on more grounded, if not outright realistic takes on the genre ready for it? The reason I put this here is because we just got a vibrant array of posters, which seem to reflect the vibrancy of the film. And that felt like that is kind of what you're asking, because even these posters are much more colorful than most current movies are today. Have you seen these posters?
I just saw them right as we got here. Yes.
Okay. There's a new set as of today. Did you see the news team ones?
I don't think I saw.
So there was a hero. So just for you guys, your knowledge, the first batch they put out was like a medley of the more known characters. It was like a Superman, a Krypto, a Guy Gardner, a Hawkgirl, a Mr. Terrific, and I believe Robot Number 4 was the first medley, if memory serves.
And Metamorpho?
I think those are the photos I did see.
Mr. Terrific was the first one I saw, and I was so stoked ready.
Flag, I believe.
Yeah, with all the bright colors in the background, right?
And the engineer.
The second one is the engineer was the second round. So the second round was frenemies. The second round, it was frenemies and enemies, and it was Lex Luthor, the engineer. I want to say Rick Flag was in that set. Metamorpho was curiously in that set, Frenemies and Enemies, because he's usually like a reluctant hero. That was intriguing to me. So then was the second set. And then a lot of people were like, where's Lois? And it's like, well, clearly they're doing this in sets. So the third set was Meet the Staff, which I enjoyed. So meet the new staff or whatever they called it. And it was Lois Lane. Clark Kent got his own, which is I enjoyed the look of the two different ones. There was Jimmy Olsen. There was Perry White. There was
Cat Grant.
Thank you, Cat Grant.
I did see the Cat Grant.
Got one.
Who?
Mr. Steve Lombard got a poster.
The Lombard
with that glorious
Beck Bennett.
mustache.
Beck Bennett's a delight. And man, the girl playing Cat Grant is also like the cast of the Daily Planet is so perfect, and the heroes are great.
Yeah.
Like I'm so excited. So we got this whole giant bevy of posters. We're gonna do a summer movie preview in a minute, but I thought this preview section opening up with posters kind of ties into our issue with seeing too much, but I feel like this solves that a bit by getting us brand familiar with these characters without giving too much context of what we're going to see them as. It also makes it very clear that these aren't going to be like cameos. These are supporting roles.
Yeah.
And so many people from the beginning of this film have been like, it's too big of a cast. How are they going to do it? If you look at most movies, they have big casts. It's just, you don't have brand recognition for all of them. Like when you watch, any military movie, Sergeant blah, blah, blah doesn't always get a poster. But since we know who Lombard is, he might have 7 minutes of screen time, but it's an impactful moment to see him. And so he gets a poster. It's an important character. So if you're building out a universe, I don't think this 25 characters that got a poster is big. I think it's an ensemble with Superman leading it. And so these posters to me gave me more of that, like, they're not cameos. It's also not going to be overwhelming. They're different parts of his life. It's a full story. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, and we know ensembles can be done, and James Gunn's very capable of doing it.
He made us care about a tree, a raccoon, in one movie.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like a good example too of just like having ensembles too, like you're talking about military and army, like Top Gun. I love the first Top Gun. That movie is 80s defined right there, right? But I love what the second movie did, besides all the incredible visual effects and just having a great story. I love that we got to know everyone that was part of the unit and all that. And I think that was an important core to why I cared about the film so much. Is like I know most of these characters. It's been a while since I watched it, but like Bill Pullman's son, I'm forgetting his name. Lewis, thank you.
Played Bob.
Bob, thank you. Like Bob, I loved Bob. Like there's a couple side characters in the first film, but I'm like, I love when we can get ensembles and care about all these supporting characters. So I think that's smart that they're starting to set it up with these posters so that we can get familiar with them, as you pointed out, and just have an understanding like, yes, it's a Superman film, but there's going to be an ensemble of supporting characters. And like right away, the first one that stood out to me was Cat Grant. We've seen Cat Grant, I believe, a couple episodes of Smallville. I know in Supergirl. I don't know if the general going public is very familiar, at least in the theater going experience. So I'm excited for that too, because she's a very neurotic and interesting character. Oh yeah, she's awesome. I love Cat Grant. But I love the look of her with the glasses and everything. Like
interviewed here in DC Studio Showcase. Check out my HBO Max's YouTube and HBO Max for my show DC Studio.
Is that
Showcase.
interview already out?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that right when we're done here. I'm watching.
She's a delight. Like she's the coolest as a person, and she gets Cat so much.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait to hear it. And I love hearing that too, because again, I that character is such a rebel, and I love like how neurotic and crazy she can be. So like that's so cool. I'm gonna watch that interview right away. But yeah, no, in regards to like how bright the colors are and all that, I mean, it's James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy, vibrant. Vibrant and colorful. And I think that speaks, like, I personally, we might be opposed to this, you let me know, but I didn't personally mind Man of Steel and the darkness, and I know
thought it fit that take.
Yeah, for that particular take, it fit. And Batman v Superman and all that, and what Zack Snyder was trying to do, I thought it was fine.
It would be odd if it was as bright and told that story, just as it would be odd if James was telling his story and had it dark.
Of course, and they were trying to eventually transition into what we all know is the bright and shiny Superman that inspires others. And I think that was the plan to get there. At least it looked like it. So I'm cool with, James like embracing that right now and giving us that in these posters. So again, do these posters, the ensemble part and seeing all the characters, like, I think that's great. I love that they're showing us who's going to be the supporting players and everything. That gets me excited, but I'm already super jazzed and pumped. I don't even need these posters.
This movie's tracking crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Now, I bring up tracking because we do want to talk about box office, and I know that is tricky for folks with like why do we look at that sort of thing? And I said in the intro, it is an important part of the show business side, but I thought a way to spice it up and to kind of combine things is I'm steering this ship. And I want to do a summer movie preview. I always want to do that. And they don't always do well. So I thought it'd be fun, instead of just doing like, this movie's out here. Are you excited? Yes or no? We break down where we are so far in the summer. And then at the end, we're going to talk about what we think might do best. And then I thought it'd be kind of fun to share some summer movie memories and then give it over to John for some fall experience, some autumnal Saw action. Ooh. So we're going to go chronological. We're going to start with the beginning of summer. To me, is that sweet spot last week of April going into May, which the Avengers films usually own, or their big Marvel movies. And this year was no exception. The end of April going into May 2nd official release, but pretty much end of April, May 1st, we had Thunderbolts. Now, Thunderbolts was the kickoff to summer, but it didn't do what it needed to do. And I would say this is one of the biggest examples to me of the movie is better than it got received as, and I think it's going to have legs in the long run. Eternals I never thought would find the audience it deserved, but I understood that it wasn't for everyone. I think Thunderbolts is much more palatable and deserves its audience, but I think that one's going to get discovered a bit more than my precious Eternals. But I know you looked into the box office on this. I think it was a great film. You haven't seen it yet. But I'd love to know your thoughts on the box office and reception and all the things that tie into that, starting with our summer kickoff.
Just in general, obviously, whether I connect with a film or not, whether it was for me or not, I'm just saddened whenever I hear that a film's in the red.
Sure.
But at the same point, I'm not in the room. I'm not in the conversations. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But a lot of times I get a little bit frustrated when these executives overinflate a lot of these budgets. Granted, I know sometimes the directors, hey, I need this much, and I want them to have their creative freedom. I don't ever want directors to feel like they don't have that. But I think a problem that arises is you got to remember, especially given in the time we are in now. I mean, it's 2025. We've got social media. We get streaming right away, which I think a big problem obviously was caused by COVID. We are now reliant on that. The theater
they
going...
pulled those back, man. 90-day windows.
Yeah, it did. I mean, even...
No one's saying we need 90-day windows back.
Yeah, no. I agree. I'm just saying, like, COVID, like, really, like, brought down the movie-going experience in terms of people are now comfortable with just... It's going to come back so quickly now onto streaming.
Yeah.
So now we don't need to go see it in theaters unless it's a specific film.
Right.
But I think in case you don't know how it works, as to my understanding, you got the budget of the film. Then when it comes to marketing, you use half of that is for marketing. And then you got to remember the movie theaters, they get to keep half of that. So when you have these overinflated budgets, you put yourself in a real pressure situation. Now there's films where like, we know we're going to do gangbusters, so we can take that risk. But then there's other films where I'm like, I'm just very confused as to why we were doing that. John showed me this trailer that was it called The Creator, John?
Yeah, for The Creator. Just to kind of illustrate how they made that movie versus how it looks.
Now, that movie, and also I would use Deadpool, the first one, as an example. I could be wrong. I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think that movie was a $60 million budget. Watch that movie. Does it feel like a $60 million budget? It feels like $150, $200 million.
Even with inflation of today, it's like 85.
It doesn't feel like it, though. Because they got give Tim Miller credit and all the guys who worked on that film. They were very creative. They had a lot of technicians on that movie really stretching their brains on that film. And I think that's where we need to get back to. And I'll use another example too. And again, that trailer John showed me for The Creator, I've not seen that movie, but when I watched that trailer, have you seen that film?
Yeah.
I watched that.
It's visually so much more expensive.
Yeah. That's what John said. And again, I haven't seen it, so no opinion from me. But when I watched that trailer, I was like, he didn't tell me the budget. I just watched the trailer and he goes, how much do you think the budget? I was like, that's $250, $300 at least. He goes, $80 million. I'm like, no way.
Godzilla -1.
Yeah, Godzilla
Let's talk about
-1.
the movie.
Yeah, but I'm like, I want to get to a point like so these studios don't have to feel the pressure because again, we're at a time where there's so many different options of And again, if you don't have A-list, it's expensive to go to a theater. The cost of living right now is expensive. It's not.
And this movie was expensive. It wasn't like, top Marvel expensive, but it was pretty crazy expensive.
Yeah. So and you said what? It's $180 million.
$180 million cost. and it's currently sitting at, I think, let me pull up Box Office Mojo, which is fairly accurate. It made 183 domestic, 188 international. So if there was no split, which is impossible because the theaters, and when we say they take half, they need that to stay open.
Right.
You're paying your concessions, your ushers, your projectionists, your workers. You're keeping the lights on. You're like, it is expensive to run a theater. So 188 and 183 adds to 371 worldwide. This movie needs to clear like 480.
And this is being constructive. Like, I still love the MCU, but the MCU is not, they don't have the same word of mouth like they used to in phases 1 through 3. If they did, probably be a different story. But again, also, you got to factor in the times we're living in too.
Yeah.
I just think it's smart. Besides an Avengers film, of course, you have to have a crazy budget probably for a film like that with all the actors and all the visual effects you're going to need on that film. Understandable, I get.
But I do want to bring up a thing that ties into Mission Impossible that I do think ties into Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
With franchises, there is a different box office math because it elevates the rest of your franchise. So when we get to Mission Impossible, I want to talk about that. But first, I do want to give flowers to the next big movie that came out. So that was May 2nd, May 16th, 2 weeks later. A big summer boost we got was Final Destination Bloodlines. Final Destination Bloodlines, I tell you, I love this movie, and it's a delight, and it made the first ever $200 million Final Destination. It's finally happened, $500 million. Now, that's a movie that does a lot with a little.
For sure.
Budget-wise.
What was the budget on that? Just curious.
I think it was like 60.
That's what I'm talking. And again,
let me look.
Yeah. But either way, like
50 according to this.
Wow. Yeah. It's here. Hey,
come on.
Great job. Great job. And I've actually heard, no spoilers, of course, because John, myself, and Aaron are currently reacting to the series. Go check them out if you haven't already. I've been enjoying that series a lot.
Yeah.
So that gives me great joy to hear that a film on a, I know we say $50 million is a low budget, right? Can you imagine back in the day if we said $50 million?
What a bargain.
What a small budget.
Yeah.
It's a smaller budget than the rest of, top films that come out today. But I think that's what I want movies to do. Like, stretch out your creative legs and do that. When you can get that, you're going to get more bang for your buck.
Because like 60 and by the movie math, like it needs to be like 120, 130. So it's 70 million in the profit.
And it's got good word of mouth. So it's gonna
and then it gets to profit all of its home video. It gets to profit all of its, and that ties into this really cool article Greg actually sent me, and I thought this was really interesting. Mission Impossible was the next weekend. So that was the 16th. Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch came out the 23rd. We're almost up to the present, you lovelies. But on the 23rd, Lilo and Stitch was a giant success. We're talking crazy numbers. The second highest grossing movie of 2025 so far. Remember, Minecraft broke a ton of records. So number 2 this year. It is made as of a week ago. You guys are watching this going into its newest bracket. As of a week ago, it already made $610 million.
That's insane.
So I want to give that its flowers, but that made a lot of people go like, but what about Mission Impossible? Mission Impossible not only is the biggest opening ever for Mission Impossible, a 30-year plus franchise. The biggest number I noticed was the second weekend bracket. It only dropped 33%. A 33% weekend 2 drop is crazy little. Like, that's a very small number. It is now at 354 million worldwide. The biggest Mission Impossible to date. Now, a lot of people go, yeah, but I heard it cost $300 to $400 million.
400, yeah.
This movie, one, paid for its entire crew over the pandemic. It filmed 1 and 2 back to back, and there was pickups and stuff done between the 2 films. The entire time LA was shut down, this movie was paying its crew. That's the only movie I know of doing that. So the budget for these 2 movies is astronomical because it was actually taking care of its people. So I want to give that its love. But then I read this article Greg sent. Basically, it was saying that when you've got a franchise, every time you release a new movie, it buoys all the old movies enough that goes into accounting for the budget. So this is the 8th film. The first Mission Impossible movie, every time they release another one, makes an average of $10 million more a year.
See, I didn't
so
know that.
if you calculate all of the movie math and then you look at streaming and then you look at that boost and then $10 million from that one, and then you add 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you've got all those franchises, you also get to recontract out your film out.
Yeah.
So franchises are a little different. And I do think when people are talking about movie franchise, movie math, Thunderbolts should be given the grace because it will buoy these other ones. And I do think after some movies come out, people will revisit old Marvel films. And like, I know people rewatch these as marathons leading up to things.
Yeah.
So I do think it's a bummer Thunderbolts didn't do well on its own, but I think if we look at the grand scale, that $100 million loss might be a little softer.
Yeah, no. That actually makes total sense because for people who don't have streaming, for instance, they might, I've got to revisit this movie. Now I'm going to download Paramount Plus, or I'm going to buy this movie. And
Paramount Plus advertising it helps them out because it helps their whole,
No, that makes total sense. I just think where I'm coming from on this too, granted with all that information, I just think it's going to put less pressure just in general. If you find a way to just slightly lower your budgets, it's just going to put, again.
I don't disagree with your point.
It's just going to put you. It's just going to put you in a position where you don't like. We got to make $900 million, so we break even. Just to break
to not
even.
be at a loss, we have to be a small country's revenue.
Yeah, exactly. And again, going back to like how we felt in the day, if you hit $900 million back in the day, you were like, holy crap.
That's the franchise like peak, not a standard. Like that was like, we've done it, folks, not we have to.
Yeah.
I also think there's something to be said about movies' versatility, and this isn't to toot DC's horn at the cost of Marvel. I do think, however, Marvel needs to look at the current state of things, not the residual state of things. And I think DC gets to more because they're new. Like DC is a new entity. They get to make a little bit more experimental gambles at the start, which I love that they're doing. But if you look at DC's slate, they're trying out different budget things. There's no way Swamp Thing is going to cost as much as Superman.
No way.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so that to me is like you build out this universe and you have different variations of budget. And so Thunderbolts, I think, cost a lot for what it was. Fortunately for me, it's amazing. But we got to look at these things. Now, on the other side, we're almost to the present day on the 30th.
Really quick, I'm sorry. How much was Lilo and Stitch's budget? I'm just curious because that is doing killer numbers right now.
I think it's one of the biggest profits Disney's had in a decade.
That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, that's money.
We're looking at $100 million for Lilo.
Wow,
and Stitch.
so $100 million and then
610.
So $100 million and then obviously about 50 for marketing. So 150. Then they have to give so 300, and it's already wow.
It's already doubled.
It's already doubled. That's that, and it's gonna keep doing more.
It's gonna move.
Yeah, because you got all summer. That
might hit $1 billion. I think Minecraft is right there on the edge, and I think that's gonna be.
But again, $100 million. That's a good that's a nice number right there.
Good job, team.
That's a great
and then so that was the 23rd Lilo and Mission. Now we're on to the 30th. We had Karate Kid Legends. Now you and I are both Karate Kid fans.
Die Hard.
I recently watched a certain Karate Kid with Sir John. If you guys haven't seen that on the channel, we reacted to the new Karate or the 2010 Karate Kid. God, that's 15 years ago. New. But I have not seen the new Karate Kid.
Neither have
and I am very curious how this was. I have not heard anything, and I thought that was interesting. Just the fact that buzz or lack of
Oh, you mean word of mouth?
It's weird.
Yeah, I've only heard from one person who's a diehard Karate Kid fan. They really enjoyed it.
Good to hear.
Yeah, so that's all I've heard. One person.
I'm gonna take this moment to look up. Please tell me more.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I'm excited to still see it just because. Do you know much about the film or not?
I know 2 branches, 1 tree. Because I thought that was a great log line.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, there's a certain character who's in it from the show and the movie. So like from that factor, and obviously I love Jackie Chan so much. So from that perspective, I'm extremely looking forward.
I mean, Jackie Chan movie, I'm always there.
Yeah, of course. And we reacted to a Jackie Chan movie that has not been put on the channel yet, which we were like, I remember in that review, we're like, this is why we love cinema. I'm not going to explain which film that was, but that was an incredible experience.
And a curveball day.
Yes, it was. Oh my God. I'm not even going to get into that, but yeah, I'm still, again, I don't know what the box office numbers are, but
cost $45 million.
That's a good cost, right?
And that's a reasonable cost for a Jackie Chan movie. And it made 25 domestic, 26 international. It is sitting at worldwide 51 right now.
That saddens me. I think the biggest
it's got competition.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. It's got competition. It's when you release it, and also on top of that, it's coming off the heels of one of my favorite shows ever, Cobra Kai.
Sure.
So it's like, how do you follow that?
Right. And it'll break even because it's right there now.
Yeah.
Like if 47 means it only has to do another 40 to break, but that's not great.
Yeah.
We're into June today is why I wanted to do this summer movie preview. We've done the review. We're getting into the preview.
Reject Nation, the basketball playoffs are heating up. And if you want to turn your takes into something real, you've got to check out Prize Picks, our go-to in the daily fantasy sports world. If you've never tried it, here's how it works. It's relatively simple. You pick 2 to 6 players, and you guess whether or not they'll get more or less then the stat line Prize Picks sets. This week I'm looking at the basketball board and selecting Donovan Mitchell for more than 26 points, Jason Tatum for more than 9 rebounds, Nikola Jokic for more than 25 points, and Anthony Edwards for more than 4 assists. Basketball terminology. It's that simple. If your picks hit, you win. Even my dumb noggin can keep up with that. And the more picks that you string together, the more money you can make. Up to 1,000 times your entry. And what's cool is, it's not just basketball. You can mix and match players across different sports like baseball, football, hockey, even esports. It's like building your own custom bet, but it's all based on player stats and you're in full control. Plus, they invented something called Flex Play, which means even if one of your picks misses, you can still win cash. And payouts are super fast. I've seen it hit in under 15 minutes. So here's what you can do. You can download the app today and use code REJECTS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code REJECTS, $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Guys, it's Friday the 6th. There's 2 crazy movies coming out. Ballerina's so good.
So excited.
It is so good.
So excited.
I am one of the, and I found out today, you were with me, I personally like John Wick 1 the most. A lot of people like as the franchise went on. I'm personally a John Wick 1, John Wick 2, Ballerina, John Wick 4, John Wick 3 guy.
Wow.
I might even put Ballerina, John Wick 1, Ballerina, John Wick 2. It's that good.
And you've only seen it once so far,
I've only
right?
seen it once, and I was infatuated. My concern and a big reason I want to do some preview is to tell you how good it is. Because I really want, the word of mouth on it is not what it needs to be. It is shockingly good at building mythology. The action's insane. Ana de Armas is a movie star, and this is her like flexing.
Yeah.
It's so good, but I love the weekend we get because this is counter-programming in the right way. Juxtaposing Ballerina, action, spectacle, glory, we've got The Phoenician Scheme, the new Wes Anderson film, and The Life of Chuck, which is the new Mike Flanagan adaptation of a Stephen King novel. So we've got adult fare in one direction of seriousness with joy, one in whimsy and Phoenician, and then we've got a big spectacle. To me, this is the first weekend that isn't just like trying to Barbenheimer. To me, Mission Lilo felt like it was like, we've got 2 giants. This weekend feels like an old summer movie weekend where it's like, we got 3 movies I love to see and they're all different tonalities.
Yeah, good counter programming, right? Yeah. No, I remember back in the day when you used to...
You could actually look, you read the paper.
I actually know. I remember growing up, seriously, I can't like pick out 2 particular movies, but there would be totally different genres where I would literally have nothing to do all day and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go there, then I'm going to go here, enjoy my cake and eat it.
And I feel like this summer is finally back to the bygone era of movie summer.
But it makes me so, I agree with you. It makes me so happy to hear that Ballerina is really good because I love the John Wick franchise. I could watch those movies all day. And it's Len Wiseman, right? Directed it?
And crushed it, dude.
I'm one of the few, it seems like I think, that likes Live Free or Die Hard. So I think, I haven't seen the Underworld films. I know you did those as well. I was going to say,
I love Underworld.
I have not seen those.
And Roadhouse.
Yeah. Oh, he did the
new Roadhouse?
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah. But anyways, I love the unrated version of Live Free and Die Hard. I think that's a fun action film. I would actually venture to make a not so popular comment and say it's my second favorite Die Hard film.
Hot take from Andrew today.
Sorry.
All right, now we're getting into
But again, just really quick, I'm sorry. I just want to say, like, I'm really looking forward. I'm so glad to hear that it's getting some positive word of mouth, and I love Ana de Armas. She's incredible. I did see Roxy, too. I want to shout her out. She did say she thinks she'd make a great Catwoman.
Love. I'm going to give you an even bolder statement.
Yeah.
I think Ballerina is my number 2 movie of the year.
Wow.
I was just looking at my list.
Sinners 1?
Sinners 3.
Oh, what's number 1?
I loved Novocaine, dude.
I still haven't seen it.
Novocaine is so
I
good.
still haven't seen it.
I'm somewhat biased, but like it is joy incarnate, and it feels like a 90s or early 2000s action comedy.
I want to see. I remember that
good.
was one of the trailers that we reacted to. I was like, I want to see this so bad.
I think 1 and then Ballerina and then Sinners.
If Greg doesn't have us react to it, I'm just gonna watch it on my own.
Live.
Yeah, that's what I've been waiting for.
So, okay, that was this week. That's tomorrow or today. That's right now at your local cinema. Next week is where I think we enter the biggest movies of the year conversation, How to Train Your Dragon live action. I think this has a contender to hit the Lilo and Stitch rhythm. I think this is maybe the thing that'll slow Lilo and Stitch down. It will have had a 3-week runway, so I feel like it's going to do its due. How to Train Your Dragon, I've also seen. I'm not allowed to talk about it yet. But I really, really think if I were to be able to, I'd be positive. But How to Train Your Dragon live action, I feel like we have buzz about it. I feel like it's a beloved trilogy. I feel like it's got a contender of billion maybe. What are your thoughts?
That's such a popular franchise. Those 3 films are so innovative. They are so much fun. And the world building in that, the animation's incredible. And I think the biggest thing we've talked about before when it comes to Last of Us, when you adapt franchises, the biggest thing is you got to hit the major beats while still making it your own. Yep. So I'm excited to see that you're going to get, I mean, it's a popular IP. You're going to get people on first-time viewings no matter what, right?
Yeah.
If it's a very good film, that's when the repeat viewings come. I think that's the biggest thing. If the movie is good, you're going to get people coming back because like,
and bringing their family back.
Yeah, and bringing
you're selling multiple tickets if they all love it.
And we're in summer season. Like that's the thing, right? So when we're in summer season, like that's a good babysitter too. Like to keep your kids like, hey,
and actually a good opiate of the masses. Like it's not just like dumb. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, no, and I think like also too my favorite types of animation or like children's type of films, even though I don't really consider How to Train Your Dragon children's films. My favorite types of films are ones that are good for adults and children.
I was going to say it's genuinely an all ages franchise.
Exactly. Those are my favorite types of films. I love films where both can enjoy it, pick up something each.
So at the end of this, when we look back, I do think How to Train Your Dragon is going to clear the top 5 of likely
I totally agree with that. Especially if it's a great film, it's going to make so much money.
Not just a Chauffeur remake. Who said that? The 20th, the following week, we've got a John movie that I'm trying to bring him to a special presentation of a piece of on the 20th, 28 years later.
Oh.
Very excited for Alex Garland coming back and Danny Boyle, like Alex Garland teaming up with Danny Boyle to return after all these years. It also has one of the best trailers I've ever seen. Speaking of marketing, I think the 28 years later's first trailer is art by itself. Like, and it gave nothing away, but it's pure. That reminded me of like when you're a 15 to 20-year-old and you understand movie literacy, but you're also like not working our job. Like that's the last time I think I was able to just watch trailers and not think about the scrutiny. That era, this feels like that trailer.
That's the secret to trailers for me, is when I don't know the plot or anything about the film and I'm asking more questions than knowing things in the film. I want
fake stuff in my trailers. I want them to deceive me.
Yeah.
Put Hulk in everything. Like, I loved they did that.
Yeah. I mean, it gives you something visceral to think about.
Use a deleted scene.
And then you're like, yeah, no, for sure.
Give me a scene from F1 with Brad Pitt that's not in the movie. Yeah, because I don't want to see the movie. I want to see the trailer.
Yeah, exactly, because you're already pumped to see something. But yeah, no, that trailer was intense. It was suspenseful. And it's been a while since Aaron and I reacted to the first film. I love that movie. And I mean, Last of Us is one of my favorite franchises ever when it comes to the TV show, when it comes to the video games. And so much inspiration comes from that because that came out of it clearly about 11 years before.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so much stuff in there that builds upon in that world. It's such a cool universe. And I still haven't seen the other films in it. Maybe some reactions in the future, foreshadowing maybe. But yeah, no, that's so cool that Danny Boyle is, because he directed the first one. Yeah, he's back. And Alex Garland, I still got to see more Alex Garland films.
He's one of the best.
I know, I
really.
One
of the best.
What was the one that he did with the, what's the film called? I'm thinking with Donald Gleason. And Oscar Isaac.
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Never seen it.
Top 30 of all time.
Never seen it. I've been telling Greg I got to get on that reaction.
So actually, that's a great reaction, Greg.
Yes.
If you're watching this edit.
Greg,
it's great.
Do it now.
So the 20th, we got 28 years later. As said, we have Elio, which is a new Pixar film, which I do not feel like people are talking about. And then a bit of counter programming for the folks that like to sit and have a little somber adult drama time. This is on my radar, and I haven't heard anybody else talk about it. There's a movie called Everything's Going to Be Great. That in itself is one of those mumblecore adult drama comedies. Listen to this cast. Allison Janney.
Okay.
Bryan Cranston.
Wow.
Simon Rex. Chris Cooper. That's all I need. That's all I got.
Yeah, I was going to say
Allison Janney and Bryan Cranston are enough for me.
I'm just good with that cast. I don't even need to know anything about the film.
I haven't even watched the trailer. I just know I'm going to see it. So that's the 20th. Again, big summer weekend. We've got the big tent pole. 28 years later is not quite a tent pole, but it is a smaller budget. Doesn't have to make a ton of it back because it's going to cost less.
Exactly.
It got greenlit as a trilogy, and they did a really interesting thing. Have I talked about this? 28 years later is greenlit and written as a trilogy. The first one is Danny Boyle. The second one is Nia DaCosta, who I adore. It's already been filmed. Depending on the success of 1 and 2, 3 is greenlit.
Wow.
But we've got to show up to 1 and 2. I've never seen a studio be like, you get pieces.
I love that they're so confident in what they're doing that they're already greenlit. That gives me more confidence as a moviegoer.
And then the third gets more of a budget if they do well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
that's exciting.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a spoiler. Obviously, we know Cillian Murphy was in the first one. We saw like little snippets that this could be him. It's not going to be him, but I'm really hoping that he comes back in one of the sequels because I love his character so much.
Dude,
that I believe has been confirmed.
Oh, it has?
One thing that struck me
I was going to say or not.
is that they've said Cillian's not that zombie, but he's going to be in part 2 and 3. And part of me wonders if they are using that as
to get to it.
To get to it 3. Yeah.
Because 2's already shot half of it, but 3 definitely feels a little more tenuous. Like, we got Cillian.
Though.
He's in a scene in 2, and then 3 is about him. So they're like, you want him?
Yep.
You want Oppenheimer?
That's damn good marketing then. If it is.
That's what I would
because
do.
like I don't even know.
Dangle the biggest movie of the last few years success-wise. So yeah, the 20th, 28 years later, LEO, everything's going to be great. 24th, Ironheart comes out. That's TV, but I want to make sure people watch it. And then the 27th is a crazy weekend. June 27th. Megan 2.0, low budget, big success opportunity. We watched the first one.
Loved it.
And your boy is back with the other interview with the Vampire Star.
Oh.
We got F1.
Damn. Granted, I'm assuming I'm reacting to both of them. I don't know. But if that's a double feature day for me.
That's a special
That's
day.
a double feature day for me because I love the trailer to Megan 2.0. But like, again, those are the days I talked about growing up in the theater. Those are the double feature days. I have to see both in theaters.
I think F1's going to surprise people. I think I would, off of the buzz a month ago, not have put it in the conversation. I think off the first screening and the word I've heard this week.
I've heard incredible positive word of mouth as well. And I mean, Joseph Kosinski.
Yep.
Top Gun Maverick is one of my favorite movies in the last 10, 15 years. I have this because of Top Gun Maverick. I'm not even joking. It's not even a joke. Like, I saw Rooster on screen. I was like, a man can look cool with a mustache. All right, let me give it a shot. I'm not saying I do, but I'm going to give it a shot. But yeah, and I actually liked the second Tron film, Legacy. Personally, John and I reacted to it. The soundtrack in that is bonkers incredible. I love
Neutron is 9 Inch Nails, dude.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
I'm such a 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm with you. But if I'm not reacting to that film, I'm seeing. I know Megan, I probably am. But if I'm not,
I probably am too because we watched.
Yeah, for sure. But if I'm not, I'm seeing that in theaters.
Yeah.
Like that is a total like. I mean, like hearing the roar of the race cars and like I want to see
10 minutes at CinemaCon. It's insane.
Yeah, but also too, not only that, I want to see the follow up to what the guy who did Top Gun Maverick.
Right, just in general, anything he does, I'm there. Yeah. And it's Brad Pitt.
Yeah, no, for sure. Is he again? Like this is just a general question. Is he supposed to work with Tom Cruise again on something? Or
so.
No? Yeah, because they're such a
what a duo.
So good together. I know they've talked about it and it's been green lit from my last reading of Top Gun 3.
Oh, I think so.
Is Joseph supposed to?
He'd have to.
Yeah.
You do not risk
I know
that.
McQuarrie is. I mean, it feels like McQuarrie's writing everything Tom Cruise is in now. Or at least.
I feel like Tom Cruise gets a little bit. They have a shorthand that allows Tom Cruise to really cruise.
Yeah.
All right. So now we have the biggest month of the year. I would say one is the biggest months in movie history.
Birthday month.
I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this could be a $2.5 billion month.
Gee.
July 2nd, Jurassic World Rebirth.
Oof.
Already, I mean, that franchise, not Park, but World, they've all hit $1 billion. Quality notwithstanding, there's some highs and lows. But they all hit $1 billion. So Jurassic opens the month. 9 days later, and I love this perfect ratio. 2 weeks is following this, but a 9-day window. So Jurassic has time to make a ton of money and things to subside a little bit.
Yeah.
Superman. We get Superman July 11th. This is being eyed as the biggest DC opening ever. The tracking numbers I saw this week were $154 to $175 million opening. It also broke tons of trailer records. Like, that's doing okay.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's going to be the thing for Jurassic Park. I mean, again, it's Jurassic Park. People are going to go in the theater, but it's going to have to get some good word of mouth too in order to get some repeat viewings, because once Superman hits theaters, it's going to immediately dip
so
right
it's got
away.
9 days, which I like.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So Jurassic, 9 days, Superman. And then the next week, this is cool because it's a little bit of counter-programming. Before we get to the other movie we're going to talk about, Smurfs is the 18th, which is a huge family thing, which I feel like nobody's talking about. But that's going to be an audience that we don't have access. Like we're just like, oh, it's making money. It'll be like when Garfield made money. I'm like, sure. That same weekend with Smurfs, people aren't talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer gets its remake. The 18th.
Oh my God.
Still July. And there's a little movie called Eddington, which has an insane cast. It's kind of like the last one I was just describing. So Eddington, Smurfs, and the insanity of, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, counter-programming Superman, I think is so perfect a week later, because then its real competition comes after that. Oh, Eddington is a Pedro Pascal movie.
Pedro Pascal's in a movie?
Dude,
I don't see him that much.
He's got to
Really?
get to work. I don't know what he's doing.
I hope he does. I mean, he needs it.
Not only is he in a movie, it's an Ari Aster movie.
Yeah, that's why I wrote it down. Thank you for finding it. Yeah, Ari Aster, Joaquin Phoenix,
Oh my God.
Emma Stone, and Pedro Pascal.
Again, I don't even need to know anything.
Quietly
I'm good.
just coming out on the 18th. So right now, July, Jurassic World, Superman, Smurfs, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Eddington, and then the 25th, Fantastic Four. So a 2-week window between Superman and Fantastic Four means you can go super fantastic.
Yeah.
And you've got Jurassic for repeat viewing, and you've got Smurfs for the kids, and you've got to Know What You Did Last Summer for the horror fans, and you got Happy Gilmore. at Home.
I talked about the movie theater being a good babysitter. This is going to be a good month for babysitting in the movie theaters.
I've never heard of a July like that.
Yeah, that's a
Like
lot.
that is actually insane.
Before we get into Fantastic Four and Superman, that's an interesting month to put I Know What You Did
Right?
Last Summer. I mean, because
There's
usually
nothing horror in there
Yeah,
because Megan was June.
that's true. I guess for counter programming, that is actually it's not
interesting.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad idea. I was just thinking that
It's
too.
the only R-rated thing except Eddington. Those are different audiences.
I guess too. Yeah, that is a that's a smart way to do it. I guess if there's nothing else that's coming out that's horror wise. So because I was thinking that I'm like
Hardest making a comeback.
yeah, no,
in the
for
mainstream,
sure.
like-
It is. No, but I was thinking too, like, because usually I associate horror films with like more like Halloweenish time
100%.
or like or
early spring,
early
like
spring.
in that dry. But
Yeah.
I think they're trusting audiences more.
Yeah, but also too, this is a good time to go to the theaters in the summer, like
Yeah.
the blockbuster season. So, and there's nothing else coming out. I didn't realize that until you said that. But I'm like, actually, it's not the worst idea.
I think that's so crazy. So Jurassic 9 Days, Superman 2 weeks, fantastic. I think those three alone are going to clear $2 billion combined, if not more.
Yeah,
Could almost hit 3. And then the support from Smurfs and I Know What You Did Last Summer.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah.
So and then some people can go see Eddington. I know me and John are excited about Eddington. I wrote it down months ago and then forgot what it was. Now it's just here in my calendar. But I think all of that. And then then August, that's not really the summer movie season. We get Weapons, which I think is going to be huge. Caught Stealing, I think is going to be huge. That is the new joint from Aronofsky that looks like a Guy Ritchie film, which I'm excited about. Matt Smith's in it, and so is Elvis, Austin Butler and Matt Smith together, gold. And then show-wise, King of the Hill, August 4th.
Oh wow.
But I want to talk. Yes, I'm so excited for propane and propane accessories.
Whoa.
Oh, Bobby. That was like Johnny Bravo. But
Yeah, big mama.
on the 25th, and then we got to wrap out because I've done this for hours. I'm so sorry, Greg. It's a long edit. But on the 25th, you had something you wanted to talk about.
On the
A
25th,
certain film you actually watched a trailer for.
which
A summer movie spectacle.
oh, Happy Gilmore too. I'm like, wait, where are we going right now? Sorry. Yeah, I'm really looking forward. I mean, grand quality wise, I don't know what we're getting, but I don't care how ridiculous or the buffoonery that happens in this movie. I've been waiting for this
You
film.
sanction this buffoonery.
I sanction as Jim Carrey did with, or as Jim Carrey. Oh wait, was it Tommy
As
Lee
Tommy Lee
Jones
Jones
said to Jim
didn't.
Carrey? Yeah, he didn't to Jim Carrey. Sorry, I was trying to remember. Yeah, because Jim Carrey said that on the Norm Macdonald show, right? Too.
I was trying to out Andrew. I
Yes.
was trying to
Yeah,
make a deep cut
well,
reference to the 90s.
That's why you're the geek checked. The other geek checked, rather. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this film. Again, I don't care how ridiculous this movie is. I remember I saw this at the Universal Theater in '96, Happy Gilmore, and I've been obsessed with Adam Sandler ever since. And I actually met him in person. Such a sweet human being. Very humble, very cool guy. Says hi to everyone. Really, really cool. Really cool gentleman.
It stars someone that I watch everything of.
Oh,
and,
yeah?
And it's not just Adam Sandler. Eminem's in this movie.
Is he really? I didn't
Marshall
even know that.
Mathers.
I didn't know. You are obsessed.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so excited.
Oh yeah. No. If you have not seen this man karaoke, he is the best. Seriously, I'm not
All
saying
this fast
I'm not
talking, I gotta use
I'm
it
not
somewhere.
saying this because we're coworkers and we're friends. You are freaking good at that.
Pretty good, pretty good, yeah.
I'm like, how does he have the vocal capacity to
It's
do
all
this?
this talking I do professionally,
Yes.
and then that's
Like
the outlet.
it's the practice
Yeah.
for that. That's
this
what it's
is just
called.
to practice
Yeah.
doing Rap God.
But seriously though, I'm so excited. Like when I watched the trailer, I was like, I don't want to watch this because I don't want to be revealed. But I'm like, it's Happy Gilmore. I don't care. there were so many things, and you know me, I'm the Easter egg reference man, right? And I'm like, oh, reminding me of this, reminding me of that. I can't wait. I told Greg I really want to react to that one, but it made me feel so nostalgic watching the trailer.
And we got a lot of good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Netflix is bringing the heat with Happy Gilmore.
Again, I'm fascinated by everything in regards to July. I'm really curious, though, what I know what you did last summer, because I think it's going to...
Like a dark horse.
Well,
maybe,
yeah,
just
for
make
sure.
More, yeah.
But I think it's going to have studios think like, hey, in regards to in regards to counter programming, like, if there's nothing else playing in regards to horror, like, we can't, like, it can't
There's
be
a
a
Marvel
safe
movie
bet.
coming out. Let's put out this to go. Like, yeah, I think that's... I'm curious how it does as well. So, in brief, and then we got to wrap out of here and get to our patron questions. We've got May done, June 6th today. Ballerina, Finishing Scheme, The Life of Chuck.
Wait.
Next week, How to Train Your Dragon. The following week, 28 years later, Elio, and everything's going to be great. The following week, F1 and Megan 2. Following week is into July, Jurassic World, Rebirth on TV, The Old Guard 2, and Heads of State on Amazon. On the 11th, we've got Superman breaking all sorts of trailer records, and I think box office. A week later, on the 18th, we have Smurfs, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Eddington. And a week after that, Fantastic Four and Happy Gilmore.
We talked about it. It's going to be really hard to. I'm probably going to be doing. I'm doing the reaction for Superman, and I would imagine for Fantastic Four
And for Happy Gilmore.
Well, yeah, Happy Gilmore. I imagine it's going to be easy to avoid spoilers, but Superman.
You didn't know Eminem was in it.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, thanks, Coy. But that's going to be tough to avoid spoilers for Superman and Fantastic Four. But that's not the issue I'm going to have. It's waiting and waiting. But then, obviously, right after I see those reactions, I'm hustling down to the theaters.
And it'll still be an IMAX.
Yeah,
You'll still get your chance.
well, yeah, for sure. But my only thing that I'm worried about is I'm not going to get to see it with a crowd. But I'm hoping that I will.
Might have enough legs to
I
get that
you're right.
second wave.
I hope you're right, because that's honestly, it's one of my favorite things to do in a theater is when I get to experience it with a crowd. I love the energy and the vibrancy that I feel when I'm with people, and when they feel. And you know what's interesting too? When I see something multiple times and I get different reactions from crowds.
I love going like, oh, they thought this was way funny.
They thought that was funny. Yeah. No. Oh, okay. Different sense of humor.
I also like going to different neighborhoods. I like to go to the different pockets of vibe. Like I always go Deep Valley for fast movies.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, like I like the car culture pockets. So I either go to Boyle Heights or I go like Deep Chatsworth. Like
That's awesome.
But yeah, well, that is going to do it for my summer movie preview. Always wanted to do this, bringing you the magazine experience, but IRL, well, digitally, but through video. But yeah, let's get to some Patreon questions.
Saw, Coy, twist
I
ending.
even went to August.
Saw, Coy,
Saw.
twist ending, Coy.
John, tell us about Blumhouse.
Hey, John.
First, sorry, just real quick at the end here, because it matters to me.
No, it matters to me. I put it there. I wrote John in the parentheses.
He did. I saw it.
Ungracious segue, just real quick. You did mention King of the Hill, and I just wanted to just say R.I.P. Jonathan Joss.
Dude, that is
I saw
that
awful.
is
his neighbor, right?
Yeah, I don't know how to bring this up, but yes.
Yeah, just truly awful. And
R.I.P.
that
R.I.P.
cast has suffered losses recently, but that was by far the most sort of jarring and heartbreaking. So R.I.P. Jonathan Joss. And Saw. Saw is it's undergoing a bit of a. Should I hop onto the camera? Or should I just be
John.
disembodied?
John!
Which
Because the camera's just watching us watch you. John's flying in. Cameo from John. He is here. It's not an AI voice of John somehow manning all the buttons.
we're letting the hair down. All right.
Look at this flow.
All right. I look like a mad, crazy person.
You're dressed like Mike Myers talking about Jigsaw.
All right. So Saw is undergoing a bit of a management change,
Yes.
which is interesting to me, and I think it's going to actually probably affect the franchise. I'm curious, because the thing about Saw is it's been shepherded by two companies up till now. Twisted Pictures, which has the, barbed wire logo that you always see before every Saw movie and not many other movies. And then you see Lionsgate. And at the moment, what is happening is Blumhouse is essentially taking over the Twisted Pictures half of the rights. So
Interesting.
yeah, so Lionsgate, and it's not been fully confirmed as to what happened with Saw 11, and the producers even came out after.
That was crazy. Like, what, 2 weeks out?
Yeah. And it was supposed to come out this year. It was supposed to come out this September, I believe it was. They had a date, and the word was they couldn't decide on what the direction should be for Saw 11, and they had reached some kind of creative standstill. The producers then came out and said, the game's not over. You don't know what you're talking about. And now, a few weeks later, we have this info. It seems as though Lionsgate is going to maintain half the rights, and then Blumhouse, by way of James Wan, is going to maintain the other half. So I have to imagine that the creative day-to-day of Saw and the creative shepherding of Saw will probably happen more towards the Blumhouse side than the Lionsgate side. But I feel like, again, this conflict, whatever it might have been with Twisted Pictures, with I believe it's Mark Berg and Oren Kula's, whatever that is, certainly it seems like Lionsgate may have won, or at least may have presented a scenario in which a compromise couldn't be made, and those guys walked away. From my understanding, those are the two producers who, along with a couple other key figures like certain writers and stuff like that, have, like, the thing about Saw to me is, like, it has been shepherded by a few people over time. Like, it's been remarkably tight-knit for a 10 installment franchise, and it coming back to James Wan for creative direction is certainly inspiring, obviously, because he and Lee Whannell kicked the whole thing off.
Right, and they're both so possessive in a good way. They're both so protective over it.
Yeah, and the first 3 movies at bare minimum had their guidance in terms of where the story went. They laid down those 3 movies worth of foundation really succinctly before you had guys like Dunstan and Melton and Pete Goldfinger and the guy, I'm so sorry if you ever see this for forgetting the writer names. But yeah, so this will be a kind of new split between them for creative. And it remains to see what will happen out of that, because Saw movies have always been low budget, and certainly that's what Blumhouse does.
Yeah.
And for Blumhouse, I mean, they have a well-worn working relationship with James Wan. So part of me, it's weird. As much as Blumhouse is a reputable, name in horror and low-budget horror, especially their business model is well-renowned, they have reached a cruising altitude where there's a good and a bad association with, like, oh, it's a Blumhouse flick.
Right.
And so I feel like this is an interesting opportunity for them, because they
to rebrand kinda,
and they seem like a studio well poised to take the reins in a way that says this will maybe be a bit creative.
I think it benefits both parties. I think it gives Blumhouse a little
what's
more
your thought? You're not as much of a Saw guy.
On the outside. So I think it gives Blumhouse a little more street cred by having such a major franchise. They have others, but Saw is huge.
Join me, Andrew.
And also,
we don't want to look at your waist. Cuddle with me.
It also gives Saw some distribution clout. I think it does both a service, because they need, Blumhouse is ever growing, and you need something like this as a guarantee. So I think it's a really good move. And whoever's responsible for putting Tobin Bell in the T-shirt and pretending he was 30 is probably not working on it. How do you do, fellow kids? Is hopefully not in the newest iteration.
That's from one of the better Saws.
Well,
okay, if memory serves, which now I am on the hot seat, I believe that is a Saw. No. I'm getting my Saw lore mixed up now.
There's only 10 of them, John.
Is that a Saw 7 moment? I'm like, shit. Is it a 5, 6, or 7?
I love that you can tell me anything, but not the comments.
This is going to be the most embarrassing moment of my life when I go back to the computer and sit down and I go, was Saw 5?
Yeah, I was so
I'm like,
sure.
Is it when he meets the guy from Boondock Saints in Saw 7 at his book signing? I think it's that. I think it's Saw
everything
7.
But the detail of the movie. You're like,
Fellow
I can describe the whole experience, but how do you do, fellow kids? As long as Tobin Bell circa age 25, but not looking different, then I'm good with it.
So yeah, I don't know what to make of this in terms of whether or not they do Tobin Bell again, because it certainly seems like you want to get as much Tobin Bell in as you can before he is no longer with us. He's an older guy. He's a spry guy, but he's an older guy.
Sure.
But yeah, as far as like Saw news goes, this was both surprising and shocking, but also like, again, because Twisted Pictures has been synonymous with Saw this whole time. But if they had to change hands to somebody, the creative partnering of both Blumhouse and their business acumen, plus James Wan and his savvy for universe and being one of the creative bedrocks of Saw. It's inspiring.
Lee Whannell is working with Blumhouse.
Of course, yeah.
So like, it's both of them.
It feels like it's coming home. Like Saw arguably is like the Blumhouseist kind of movie that wasn't actually a Blumhouse movie.
It was just before Blumhouse.
Yeah. And I think maybe even Oren Peli had been involved at some point. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But yeah, it's like, the house that Paranormal Activity built is now getting the opposite thing into its, gauntlet.
I think it's good.
Which is Saw. And I'm optimistic to see how that works out.
And Maze will probably get some parks. I immediately was like, Universal Maze.
I was going to say, bring them back. That was my first year at Universal as a scare actor. Was in the Saw Game On Maze as Angus McFadden, Jeff from Saw 3 in the freezer, and that frozen naked lady prop shows up in a lot of haunts around town. So. Anyhow, that's my time. Thank
All
you
right,
guys.
John's
Saw,
cameo.
I got thoughts.
Swapping it.
Now
Andrew, you lay down your Saw thoughts.
We're gonna get to Patreon after Andrew Saw thoughts.
Well, just really quick. If we get parks out of it, that means John and I have somewhere to go, right, John?
Yeah, this October or next October.
Yeah, whenever it
Jigsaw
is.
comes home.
I don't know anything about the Saw films. I've never
I
seen them.
love the soundtrack to the second one.
Oh,
I know
yeah?
that.
No,
I've seen the first two. The soundtrack two is amazing.
I love all the music you love, so that means I got to listen to
Saw
it.
2 soundtrack on the drive home.
I will listen to it, I promise you. But after the interview that I listened with Kat Grant.
It's Kat and Beck Bennett as Lombard and Jimmy Olsen Scholar Son in one episode. It's great.
I will listen to it, I promise.
Thank you.
So
You too at home.
Yeah, so in regards to Saw, sounds good. I love the paranormal activity. I love the paranormal activity films. I'm going to shift this in a different direction. I'm a diehard Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I don't want to go out the way we did in 2010. I love Jackie Earle Haley to death. He's a great actor. I don't want to, and I know Platinum Dunes and Michael Bay did that film, but I don't want to go out that way. I know it's a pipe dream. I know there's no way Robert Englund is probably ever going to come back. One can dream. I'm hoping someday Blumhouse gets the rights and get
Freddy's new Nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm hoping we can do something to get Robert Englund back.
Robert Englund Jigsaw, man.
I would not be bad.
Oh my
do
God.
Robert Englund Jigsaw or do Werner Herzog Jigsaw?
I'd be down for anything with Robert Englund.
Jigsaw.
Werner Herzog, man.
But
Into it.
but seriously, and
This shoe.
I would be so down if Blumhouse got Nightmare on Elm Street as well. That'd be awesome because again, I love the paranormal. That was such a fun that whole series.
And Megan Blumhouse.
Oh, yeah. There you
That is going to do it for those journeys of news. Let's talk to the patrons and let's guide us home. All right, we are now at the point of the show where we break down some Patreon questions. You wonderful radicals when we meet you in person. You wonderful royal rejects. I love this part of the show where you guys send in some questions. So please, anyone that is a super sexy reject, please send some in. John, what do we got?
Hey, we got a nice reflective question to kick us off from Michelle R. R for resplendent, for radical, dare I say, royal even. Pod question. What was the movie-going experience you had as a kid that has been the most impactful on your current life and career? Dig deep, boys.
So we did a little summer movie preview, so I say we answer this twice. Once general, and then once if there's anything summer blockbuster specifics. I like this theme of episodes. So general first, go ahead.
How much time do we got?
87 minutes, not even under like 5.
I'm going to start with the first summer blockbuster I ever saw, and I was a month away from being 4, and that was Batman Returns. Now, granted, I don't remember every single thing when I saw the film. I was only 4 years old, right? But that's when I knew I had a love and an affinity for films. Just that I have that visceral memory just of seeing Penguin biting someone's nose, seeing Batman kicking a bunch of clowns' behinds and all that. And I was at such a very young age, and from that moment on, I've been obsessed with films. And that's when I knew I wanted it to be a part of my life. It was a part of my soul. And also, too, I was probably at that point, not that you're a critical thinker at the age of 4. I'm like, what am I doing here? This is a freaking scary movie. but yeah, that was the first movie going experience. I think the first film I ever saw though was a few months prior to that. I think was Hook. But that was the first movie going experience. I'm like, I love movies and I want this to be a part of me. And I would say Batman Returns in terms of general movie going experience, where I'm like, again, up to this point I'd been obsessed with movies, but where the game changed for me was probably The Matrix. I know that's March, so I don't know if you're going to call that a summer blockbuster.
No, you already did your summer. You're free.
Yeah. Okay, cool. In regards to The Matrix, now there's a 2-part story in this. We were getting it, so my father and I were going. By the way, this is the power of cinema and going to theaters. I can literally tell you every single time I've gone to a movie theater, which theater I've gone to. I remember, like, even one of your favorite movies, SWAT. I was in New Jersey when I saw that. Whatever theater or whatever film that I've gone to, I literally remember which theater I've gone to. But that's the power of cinema. It sticks with me in my head. So when I went to see The Matrix at the Mann Theater in Tarzana, which is no longer around, unfortunately, it's been replaced by a gym. At least it's for a good cause, I guess. But when it came to The Matrix, I thought my dad was pulling a prank on me. So this is a really cool story. Probably not going to believe me. I promise you it's true. We were pulling into the parking lot as we usually did when we went to the movie theater. And my dad's like, he's the one driving, of course. This is only 1999. I didn't have my license yet because I would have been like freaking hauling ass if what he said was true, which it was. He goes, "We got to park right now. I just saw Chuck Norris walk into the movie theater." I go, "Yeah, right." So we park, and my dad's walking faster than normal. I'm like, "He might be telling the truth. He might have just saw Chuck Norris." And then we walk in. I'm like, "Holy crap, Chuck Norris is right in front of my heart." Was literally racing. Dude's freaking Walker, Texas Ranger, and a bunch of other stuff that I have not seen him in. But obviously, it's Chuck Norris. He's pretty damn famous. So we started talking to him. Granted, I don't personally like to bother celebrities. We actually knew someone that he had worked with in the past, Beau Bridges. He's a family friend. My older brother was on one of his son's soccer teams, and we were family friends, so we were close with Beau. And I think they were it's like a Karate Kid ripoff movie called Sidekicks.
Okay.
So we started talking with Chuck. He could not be more graceful, more sincere. And he was there with his son and another friend, so he easily could have swiped us aside and been like, "Hey, nice to meet you. I'm going to go see the movie." We talked to him about 15, 20 minutes. He was so sweet, so sincere, so kind. I'm like, just to see someone be so humble. And he gave me a high five. He was talking to me and like not being dismissive towards me or my father. It was a very cool 20-minute conversation. I'm not going to lie to you. While I was watching this incredible movie, having my mind blown at The Matrix, I kind of turned behind me about 30 different times. Like, Chuck Norris is sitting right behind me as I'm watching this mind-blowing movie that's going to change cinema forever.
Yeah, but there's still Chuck Norris.
It's Chuck Norris. But that's a movie-going experience I will never, ever forget, and I will cherish. It's one of the coolest experiences I've ever had at the cinema.
The movie theater is church to me. It's the only place that I feel like community to scale is in the public. Like, I think the theater itself is it costs people out, and I think concerts are expensive, and I think there's something really beautiful about the theater being affordable adjacent, like AMC A-list and things. So I do find like the populace at the theater, it used to be a really wonderful safe space. I do find more and more I have more negative experiences more often now at the modern movie-going public. But my general thought is immediately just the summers was I worked at a movie theater from 14 to 20. So for 6 years, 6 summers, like I'd be done with school and then I'd start like the craziest movie season of my life. And it felt like Adventureland. It felt like, those summer vacation movies, but at work. And I just have so many fond memories of that. But if we're talking how affecting my career, the first Avengers movie, that was, I was in LA, but I was super young. That came out, 2012? And I would have been 24. I moved to LA when I was 21, so I'm only 3 years into this crazy city. I'm gonna be 24, so I'm 23 at the time. I'm only 2 years into this crazy city, and I'm not used to comic books being popular yet. Like the movies are doing well, but I'm coming from 20 years of hiding it and only a few years of being public about it, and it was really cool to. I don't cosplay. It's not something I enjoy. I don't really like building the outfits, and I don't like feeling like someone getting noticed because I'm uncomfortable in that position. I respect cosplayers. I think they're fantastic. I have a lot of friends that cosplay. It's just not my thing. One of the only 2 times I've cosplayed, once was for Dark Knight because Warner Brothers hired me to be their Joker, and the other was for Avengers. But even then I was Hawkeye because it was something I could I could imagine. And I like Renner and I like the character. But me and my friends that worked at an Olive Garden at the time all cosplayed. We had Cap, we had Thor, I was Hawkeye, we had a Loki. It was 8 of us. So cool. And we stood outside the AMC Burbank and waited because back then you actually waited for the movies. But we got interviewed by AMC, and I would then years later go on to work for that same crew that interviewed me when I was at Collider. And I would go from Avengers 1 cosplaying as Hawkeye, waiting at midnight on camera, literally being interviewed by I think the broadcast was Campia. So literally people that I'm peers with now, but from Avengers to Winter Soldier, I went from waiting in line to I started working in this space with Winter Soldier. I was doing my own show called Comic Sense at a tiny network previewing Winter Soldier. And then by Infinity War, I was working the red carpet. That was my first ever red carpet. By Endgame, I was doing junkets and stuff. And now I'm here. So Avengers I was going to be an actor, and I was in LA to be an actor. And then by the time it went from Avengers to Winter Soldier, I had changed careers, changed my life. And I think that's a huge impact on my work.
That's
pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's such a cool story. Yeah. It was like it was foreshadowing for your career.
The fact that it was AMC on the thumbnail. If you go to AMC on YouTube, the thumbnail is like me and all my friends, and I didn't know it until like 2 years ago when I was looking at my Facebook memories. Like that's still to this day the AMC thumbnail, which is crazy.
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
It was
See you in that.
jarring.
Yeah, because I've never seen you in cosplay. So
It's a 2-time thing.
I love that.
But yeah, big summer movie fan.
And I remember too, really quickly, that's another thing I love about the movie theater going experience. It's an event.
Yeah.
And I love there's been times too, and when I'm in with a crowd, when you get that right crowd, the energy in there, like you can just feel it all around. It's like we're all one. It's a spiritual
That's what I mean.
thing.
Like by that, it's an affordable way to have community. It's really special.
And I love it. Like there's no other feeling like it.
No.
It's really an incredible experience.
That's why I like premieres. Is it feels like a little summer movie event every time, and it's people there to celebrate versus like critique.
Yeah, for sure. Like that first Avengers movie, like I'll just use one example, like when, spoilers if for some reason you haven't seen Avengers, like when Hulk is like, using Loki and to toss him around in that room, like everyone was laughing and clapping so much you couldn't even hear Tom Hiddleston like wheezing. I'm like, I had to buy it on Blu-ray to hear him, like, because I probably saw that movie 10 or 11 times in theaters, no joke. This when before I had this job and I actually went to the cinema a lot more. When I watched it on Blu-ray, it's like, oh my God, in the 10 or 11 times I saw that in theaters because the crowd was so loud.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice
And
that.
it's such palpable joy, man.
Yeah,
It's so special.
for sure.
John, we got another one?
We actually have a lovely segue out of Andrew's ending comments there from Pavel Kaczmarek. I hope I'm saying your name right. Thanks for chiming in. Podcast question. This is something I've been meaning to ask you for a long time, and it involves not watching movies in the cinema to later react to them. How do you guys go about it? Do you literally draw straws? And how do you then avoid spoilers for some of the higher profile things? No offense to anyone, but when I've seen Deadpool and Wolverine reactions flood the internet, I found it insanely hard to believe in some cases when they were shocked and had a huge reaction to every cameo. Like, really? You were able to avoid all of them? Holy crap, that's a lot of text. Sorry about that. Love you guys. This podcast and Your Mom's House are the only ones where I never skip an ep.
No,
Honored.
Appreciate
Thank you,
you.
Pavel.
Appreciate you.
All right. So
I feel like my answer is going to be a little shorter because you actually are the one to respond to Deadpool and Wolverine. So I'll start this one. I, for so many of my jobs, have to cover a lot of movies. I also don't watch a lot of TV, and I also have a decent amount of blind spots in older movies. So that combination puts me in a spot where I have to just be like, guys, and like there's some I was supposed to cover, like Minecraft I was supposed to do, but then scheduling conflicts in recording it caused me not to be able to do. So me with 7 jobs and 4 of them requiring me to watch the new movies puts me in a different spot where I just can't sometimes. So it becomes a conversation of like, okay, then the streaming ones I have to do. So like anytime there's like one of those that we're going to cover, I'm going to jump on that. If there's a show, I'm more likely going to jump on that. So it's kind of compensating for my other jobs where I can't miss the theatrical thing. I also, having grown up in the movie theater industry, I'm so tied to the going to the movie part of the press screenings and also like my relationships with these studios and stuff. Sometimes I have obligations just from a business standpoint to go. So there's 100 reasons I kind of have to a lot of the time, but when I can cover something else to compensate, I try to.
Coy, be honest. We draw straws.
There's 8 straws.
You just get lucky every single time.
I'm the one on the
short.
Straws.
Yeah, I'm the one on the short end. What happens is, at least this year, we've kind of put a little system in place where I just will come to Greg and I'll be like, hey, there's at least 2 movies I have to see in theaters. My choices this year. Granted, I'd love to see them all in theaters, but obviously with the job that we have, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. And then probably go out in theaters afterwards and see, which I did with Deadpool and Wolverine. We'll get into the social media stuff in that question. The 2 movies that I picked this year were Mission Impossible, and John is here. He has not seen it, so I'm not going to get into any spoilers. But the 2 action set pieces in IMAX were well worth the price of admission, so I'm glad I picked that one. The other one, too, is a man by the name of Jimmy Cameron. I have to see that movie in theaters. I am not reacting to that movie. I told Greg, and he said, that's cool. You react to everything else. Those are the 2 movies set.
Nice.
So those are the 2 I picked. I will be seeing Avatar Fire and Ash in theaters in IMAX day 1. Hopefully I'll be able to go with you guys, see it early. We'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to see that. But in regards to how do I avoid spoilers and social media and all that, it's not easy. It's not. What I do is I give Greg my phone. after he's seen the movie, of course, he will then mute the words. He'll do all the tricks in the book that we'll do. Also, I did stay away from social media. I think it's like the first couple weeks, especially, is when everyone's on
actively talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. After a few weeks, people are still talking about it a little bit, but like you just mentioned, it dies down a little bit as time wears on.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get to that streaming phase, I kind of stay away a little more. But that's what I had to do with that, especially with Deadpool and Wolverine. A lot of times we were expecting these movies to come out in streaming pretty quickly now. And with that one, I was like, I wanted the movie to be successful and stay out as long as possible. At the same point, for my selfish reasons, I want to see this movie so bad, and also so I can experience it in theaters.
Yeah.
But also listening to all the joy that you guys were having, I'm like, damn it, I want to watch it so bad. But I was so happy for you guys that you were enjoying it as well. But that was probably the hardest one I have had to sit out by far.
I can vouch for Andrew on that one because the amount of times you came to either me or Greg or both of us and were like, hey, listen, I'm really concerned about this. Can you take a look at my blocked keywords just to make sure, see if you can add anything else to this? And we were like, shoot, what do we do? I guess we're going to add like Gammon, Blade. Like,
there's a lot of Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. So like, I can vouch for the fact that Andrew really did. And it, you're a guy who checks comments, man. It seemed like it took a lot of resolve.
It was not easy.
Maybe more so for you than Tara even.
Yeah. Tara, I mean, we love Tara, but she doesn't really check comments at all. So there was no danger of her being.
At peace with the world.
Yeah.
She doesn't need it.
She's smarter than me. But I mean, the whole thing for me too is I want to interact with people, and also for my own self as well. It's kind of like it's a constructive thing for me. If there's something I'm doing that I think I can be better at, sometimes I'll check for that reason as well. But probably would be a lot more stress free if I didn't.
I've cut back. It's nice.
But yeah, that was definitely the toughest one I've ever had to sit out. Again, the reaction was incredible. I got to see it in theaters, thankfully.
Yeah.
I wish it would have been a packed crowd, like to my point earlier where I was talking about that energy you feel in the crowd, because there were so many points where I'm laughing out loud, but there's nobody else in the theater. It was still a fun experience to see it in the theater, but I really did miss having a crowd with me, for sure. But it was fun to still see,
Avatars is going to be here before we know it, man.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Like 5 months.
Whatever you think of those movies, like just seeing it on a theater, it's such a movie going. It's an event.
Yeah, truly.
It really is. Any James Cameron film is an event.
The Abyss we watched and loved.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorite. That is one of my favorite reactions. And one day we
highest rated movie.
Yeah, we have to do the director's cut one day.
Yeah, it's my highest rated reaction for personal, and we'll do the director's cut. Maybe we'll give it like 3 years. Rejects 2030. Yes. All right, those questions were amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
As always, you lovelies, super sexy rejects, send in your questions. You help us guide this part of the show, so please send those in. I love to hear what people want to guide us through. So that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you so very much, Greg. We'll be back, I believe, next week. So he'll be sitting here. I'll be sitting there next time. But hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Real Rejects, REAL. Please leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought of the Superman poster discussion, the summer preview discussion, the Thunderbolts discussion, the Fantastic Four footage discussion, all the things we talked about in this episode. Comment below, like, and if you're not already subscribed, you're like an hour plus into this video. What are you doing? Just clearly you were entertained to a point. Subscribe. Thanks. Bye.